Okay. Excellent. So today I wanted to talk about the process for going through Command and how basically from start to finish. We're going to pause and we're not going to go through the documents piece and the DocuSign piece. We'll go through filling that out and talking about getting those terms this afternoon. But I wanted to give you again kind of a guide of where you start when you're working with a client, both on the buyer side. So you have a transaction flow for a buyer, which is in the red. And then you have a transaction flow when you're working with a seller, which is in the blue. And the reason being is I want to make sure it's confusing. Like there's a lot of different systems that you're working with and you're like, okay, what system am I in now? And if you're new, and if you're new to Keller Williams, sometimes too, it gets confusing of like, is this when I'm in Command? Is this when I'm in DocuSign? How do I go between them? And here comes Claire Krista. So thank you for being willing to share. Okay. So when you get a new client, you're going to want to go into and sign into Command and create a contact. Thank you so much. And what we're going to go through today, guys, is literally the bare bones basic, okay? I encourage you to use Command for your CRM and to do your campaign touches that email things out automatically. But I wanted to give you the tools of like, what is the bare minimum I need to do to be able to get a transaction started, paperwork signed, and then get them to closing and get my commission letter stuff, okay? So let's start here. Command is going to be the gray with the yellow each time. Does anyone else need a handout if they would want to take notes on? Are we all good? We're good? Okay, perfect. And then guys, I emailed that out this morning, Craig, Connor, and Jay, if you want to follow along. So we're going to go into Command. Hopefully you guys, everybody here knows how to sign into Command. Yes? Excellent. Okay, so we're going to sign into Command. This may be too where you've already done this before. The little icons on the left are going to be where you're going to go. The second one's contacts. So if you hover over them, it's going to tell you which one it is. So if this is a new client, we're going to click on Add Contact on the upper right. You see this big button here that's in that blue color. And again, we're going to fill out the bare minimums here. So our client's name, let's call her Tracy Johnson. I'm going to add the email for Tracy at, I'm going to just use what I use for business, esadie.com. So I'm not sending somebody random stuff. So name, email address. We're going to scroll down to the bottom here. You can add definitely add more information for Tracy, but if we're going to try to do it quick and dirty, just get it in here so that we can continue on. And then you're going to hit create. And this is when we just first start working with Tracy, okay? We haven't maybe identified what property she's going to make an offer on, but now we've gone in and created the contact for her. See if I can do this smoothly. So now she's ready to go look at houses. We're gonna go in the MLS. We'll create the search. We'll get out there and look at some houses. Obviously here, we're gonna use showing time to set up those properties. We're gonna use MLS to do our research. Supra to unlock the door. I know that seems basic, but again, if this is a new world and another language to you, hopefully that's helpful. Now Tracy's decided she wants to make an offer. At this point, you're going to sign back into Command to get ready to make that offer. Guys, again, I went ahead and picked a sample property. So let's look and use today for example, that the sample property that Tracy wants to make an offer on is 17 West 58th Street. This is where I've gone into the MLS and I've used the Property 360 property view. And I've selected in that. So when we went to that print screen, 360 property view, I selected listing and tax. Okay, remember how I said I always like to have the same reports so that I know where to find my information. So that's how I got that sample one, if you want to follow along there. And so going back into my Command, everybody following okay? I know I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm going to now select Tracy's name in the contact section is one way I can do this. The other way is if I'd want to go over here to opportunities, I could click in opportunities and start there by saying create opportunity. Okay. I often will just go in directly to the contact and start there. Okay. So I'm going to click on Tracy's name. And this is Tracy's contact record in Command for me. Okay. As you can see, I don't have everything filled out, so she's kind of red over here, but I'm going to be okay with that because I'm doing the quick and dirty. On the right here is where you're going to find the Opportunities tab, and you're going to click on that Opportunities tab. And then you've got another plus sign over here that's going to allow you to create the opportunity. And the opportunity means like the offer, the property, the transaction. Okay. We're going to click Create Opportunity. And then here it's going to populate for you all. All of you are only associated with one market center. Since I am fortunate enough to be associated with multiple, that's why I've got options there. If you're on a team, you would select what team you're on here. Otherwise, you're an individual, you don't have to select that. And note, guys, in Command, anytime something's required, it is going to have this little red asterisk next to it. Underneath opportunity type, here is where you're going to select what type of opportunity. Is this a listing you've taken, or is this a buyer that you're working with? Since it's a buyer, we'll select buyer. Owner is your name as the owner. If you're on a team, again, this is saying, so if you're an individual, you're going to leave your name populated there. You've got client as Tracy Johnson. If Tracy Johnson was married or had a significant other that was going to be on this transaction with her, you would select that as co-buyer. And then here you would have already created that contact for her. But let's say that maybe Todd Harris is her significant other and he's going to be on this transaction. You could select that Todd be here. But you do need to have already created contacts for both of them to put them on the opportunity together. And if you were to do that, this will show up under Todd's name as well. Okay.
Does it matter which order who's first and who's co-buyer in Command?
No. Nope. So as you can see, since it's a buyer, it's going to automatically change the opportunity name to be the client's name dash buyer for what the opportunity type is. We can make adjustments to that again later. Again, lots of other fields that you can select that would be to your benefit, but like right now we're just sticking to the basics because, you know, there's a lot to handle. So under commission rate, you're going to say 3%. And then they've already got some things defined here for your phases and your stage. You can go and create your own phases and your own stages for the client. It's basically building out a pipeline for you. So if you want to always have them in Cultivate, or you've got some other options here as far as like an active, you can do that. And that's all it's doing is putting it in your pipeline for you. If we want to do it quick and dirty, you can just leave it as what it is defaulted as. This 3% commission that you're putting here, and if you were to put an estimated closing date, again, that is only so it can calculate what amount to put into your pipeline for you to help you manage your pipeline within Command. For right now, quick and dirty, we can just leave it as the 3% and the regular phase and stage. We'll click the create button, and it's going to create the opportunity for Tracy on her contact over here. You guys see where it automatically populates that. Is everybody good then? Okay, I'm going to go back. So we have at this point created the opportunity. Our next step is to launch the DocuSign, which is where you're going to go manage the documents, fill them out for the client for the offer and buyer agency, and get their signatures. So let me show you, you're going to want to generate that from Command first. What I would recommend if you start working with someone is to come in and create their contact and go ahead and create a DocuSign room for them. And let me show you how to do that. We're going to click on the opportunity. Here again, we come to another page in which it's going to give us the ability to adjust any of the details on the transaction. You've got these little pencil-like things in the upper right of these different sections. I would recommend leaving it here. If you want to put the property information in there, it will carry it over to DocuSign and auto-populate it in DocuSign for you. But again, if it's a buyer and how many times you're writing offers for buyers, I'm going to show you one reason why maybe not to do that, so that you can keep everything cupped underneath that one contact for that buyer. So what we're going to do in our quick and dirty today is go to the documents section. Here we're going to want to do a couple important things. First is pick a checklist, okay? And that's over here on the left. You see where I'm clicking on this little triangle? The reason why this is important is it's going to help DocuSign automatically put the forms you need into the DocuSign room for you, okay? So again, since this is a residential buyer, we're gonna say 2022 residential buyer docs. It's also creating our checklist for compliance, guys. So this is where we're starting the transaction, and then later we're gonna come back to and do our compliance. At this point, you can come over here to the right and this big button that says start a transaction. I actually don't want you to, I want you to click on the little arrow to the right. Hopefully all of you just have DocuSign selected and as an option for you. So you're going to want to click DocuSign, and then it's going to start thinking for you here. Hello, Ginevra. When it does that, it's going to go into DocuSign and create a new DocuSign room for you. Okay. So from here, if you want to go access that DocuSign, you're going to see how the button turned from start a transaction to go to transaction. So you're going to want to click go to transaction, and it's going to open up the DocuSign room for you. Does that make sense? And here are the documents that we're going to then fill out for this client. It has the ones that you're already needing to complete. So we're going to talk about this afternoon, but these are the documents then that you're going to fill out for your client, assign where they need to initial and sign, and send it off to them. You're going to stay here as you're negotiating with the other agent until you get signed documents. Okay, you're going to work within DocuSign. You can each time go in that way through command, or guys, you can just log directly into DocuSign. Does that make sense? Is everybody following? And if you want to sign directly into DocuSign, you're going to come to a dashboard that looks a little bit like this, and you'll just click on Tracy Johnson's room, what they call a room, and it'll bring it up in this sense, and you can click on documents, okay? And then here's all your information for you to continue to manage that. All right, so then we want to continue back to, we're getting our offer accepted. We're going to send a copy of the contract to the lender. We're going to send a copy, and these are all responsibilities as an agent that you have to be responsible for. Send a copy of the contract to the title company, deliver your earnest money. You're going to conduct your inspections, do your appraisal kind of piece, right? And then we'll be back into command. And at that point, or can I, and maybe just take a pause. Is there a chance that that offer doesn't get accepted? Okay, so then what do you do then? At that point, you're gonna have this same buyer consultation. You're gonna keep your buyer agency. You don't have to redo that, right? Unless you did it for a specific address, you don't have to redo the buyer agency. So at that point, guys, we're gonna come down here and click under contract. And then you're going to want to come over into this section on the right and see how we have under contract and another little arrow here. Is everyone following where I am on the screen? Okay, and you're going to click add version. And in this version, you could use it as the address of the property, and maybe this time they're going to make an offer on 5710 Grand Avenue. And you can create a new version. And then that's going to allow you to have another checklist where you can use that for the offer. Does that make sense? And here we have the original. Under contract is the original version. This is the second property we offered on. God for, like, we have to do another property. Okay, we're going to add another version. This time, they're going to make an offer on 4312 Main Street. And that's our new version. Okay. Note when you do this, guys, if I say go to transaction and I go into DocuSign, here's my real estate residential contract. If I've already had this transaction and I put the names of the sellers for that first offer we made, if you use the auto population feature where you're naming those people under people, you need to go in and change that so that your documents don't reflect the old seller's names. Does that make sense? If you go in and you're manually typing in the names, then it's not so much where you have to be concerned with going back and changing it. Does that make sense? Okay. So now the good news is though, you did get it accepted, so all is good. And now it's time for you to go through the lovely compliance process, guys, which is super fun and a great experience. We're just gonna say that. No, can you tell that as an agent, paperwork was like my least favorite thing. At this point, there's a couple things I want to make sure that we're paying attention to. So I'm going to try to slow down and make sure I go through it clearly. You're going to start with consultation. You're going to want to say attach files from DocuSign, and you've already got the DocuSign room connected to Command here. We're going to say working folder, room docs, which is just what they named that room in DocuSign for you. And this is a key step that I want to make sure that everybody's following on this ... here, the 3 dots. Because watch, when I say room docs, you're going to go, well, wait a minute, Elizabeth, this is not working. Whenever she clicked on that drop down, there was a whole bunch of things for her to pick from. The reason that there's not any right now is you've got to click on these 3 dots on the right. And then it's going to show, you're going to want to click include DocuSign forms. Now watch this magic. When I hit select, it's going to have all the documents in DocuSign for me to then arrange here and line up. Does that make sense? So our exclusive buyer agency, I'm going to show you here. I can line up, and it'll be signed by everybody, is the same as the document that is buyer agency here. So this is the exact same as this one here. Does that make sense? They're connected. So the changes I would have made while I was working with my client and negotiating the sales contract will be saved in DocuSign. And so when I align it, it's going to pull it over into Command so that when compliance goes through it, they're going to see the one with the signatures on it and everything filled out. Does that make sense? A lot of times, this is again just a personal preference, would go in and rename these so that I knew that they were signed by everybody and that was the one I was pulling over. But basically, you're going to go down and you're going to select each of them to line them up against the correct document here that's required. And then at that point, you can go down and do your contract the same way. The 3 dots, don't forget those 3 dots. And then residential real estate contract, your counteroffer if you've got it. Again, you're adding documents all along, guys, in DocuSign. So the additional documents, you're uploading a copy of your EMD receipt, those kinds of things over here. And those will all populate as an option if they exist in the room here for you to align for compliance.
And you do that through add, right?
Yes. Yep, whether it's you're going to add it as from your computer or your DocuSign forms, okay? And that's where you're adding all of the different forms that you need, whether it's from MLS or from the ones that are for the Market Center. Okay, so once we're back here, guys, for your compliance, and to show you here, this is where we're going to align our documents for compliance and commands. At this point, you're going to hit submit to MC. And then it's going to send a message over to compliance to sign in and look at your documents for compliance. They're gonna be like, Elizabeth, what's going on here? These are all blank. I already warned my MCA that I was gonna send over DA requests to just deny them. But this is good, it'll keep them on their toes, right? Like they don't have enough to do. Okay, at this point, see how it says submitted for the under contract documents? I need to do the same thing for consultation. So I'll hit submit to MC and it'll say submitted. Once they go in and review it, guys, they're going to either change this to reflect a green approved, that's highlighted in green, or it's going to be not approved, rejected, needs review. in red. At that point, they do have, or they're going to note on each document that's not approved over here. So it may not be, it's not an all or nothing, right? They're going to make a note that your buyer agency is missing an initial here. If you hover over, you can see the comments of what's missing. And then if you would like to go and make a request for someone to make a change, there's a way that you can add a comment here. You guys see where I'm just under consultation? And when you do that, you want to be sure to use the @ symbol and call out the person that you're responding to in compliance to say, I went ahead and added those initials, please review, because it's going to give them a notification that they need to look at it again. Okay, so you're going to do that, and you're going to hit, when you make a change in here, so to change it out, you're going to change it out, you're going to say update and change it out to a different form. That's from the room that you updated with the new signatures, and then it'll repopulate this for you to submit. Does that make sense? Your compliance process, guys, I would not wait until it's closed. I would not wait until you're 2 days before closing. Just because your ability, if you are missing an initial or you're missing something somewhere, to get your clients to do that is a lot easier and way less embarrassing if it's not the day of closing or 2 days after closing. Like, hey, by the way, could you please just like, could I have you like initial in this one spot? Like, please, 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 because I will tell you, both offices do not release your commission check if you're not completely approved and everything is correct in compliance. So this is an important step in order for you to get paid. Yes. And again, guys, if there's ever a time in which you say, oh my, like, you know, could you just mind? I forgot, can you just, I mean, I've been at closing tables with documents and like, do you mind initialing here? Your clients are going to be fine. And they're going to say, oh yeah, no problem. Here you go. It's when you have to go back to them a week and a half after closing and they're going like, I thought everything was done. Is there something wrong? Like, why are you having me initial this now? Like, what's that? That makes it a lot more difficult. And even though oftentimes that's when people want to go in and check because they're like, why hasn't there been a deposit in my bank account? What's going on? Kind of a thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I have a question. Isn't there a timing associated with submitting to Market Center? So I know I was told originally on the, if you have a buyer agency agreement, you're supposed to submit that to the Market Center. I think it's within 5 days of it being signed. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. I can find out about that. I'm like, or I'm, as I should practice, like I'm having all you practice and you're not sure. I am like 90% sure on that. Let me get back to you on what the timing is of when they want you to submit that buyer agency.
Okay.
It would make sense too, though, in that you want that to be where it's okay, because if you're not have it filled out properly, you want to make sure you're protected, right? If it's like, well, your dates are off here, or you know, this is illegal, you want to make sure that you're able to correct that sooner rather than later. Okay, this close folder here, guys, is where you're going to update and upload a copy of the settlement statement, or your Market Center will update a copy of the settlement statement. And then you see here, and these other forms, or this is more of a tab that your Market Center administration is going to take care of. Okay, I wanted to show you it though, because the DA for title is your distribution. What is it? How I spelled it out. Authorization. I always forget what the A stands for. This is a distribution authorization, is what is often called by other people outside of Keller Williams a commission letter. Why we call it distribution authorization, I don't know. And I don't know why it hasn't been updated in decades, but hey, welcome to Keller Williams. So that is what your commission letter is. And we're going to go through that process right now. And yet I wanted to show you when they upload it, when your Market Center administration uploads it, this is where you're going to go find it. And it'll be selected here. You'll be able to click on it like a hyperlink, download it, and then send it over to the title company for your closing. Another thing that you do not want to leave for the last minute. So you're going to want to make sure that you get that submitted plenty of time prior to closing. To be completely honest with you, if you want to be straight A students or you know, high achievers, I would highly recommend once you go under contract and get through inspections, come in and do your compliance and do your distribution as your commission letter request. Okay, typically that's supposed to, that would be what, 14 days into the transaction. of a 30-day close. That way you've got plenty of time to be able to have adjustments made and make any changes that you need. Okay, any other questions when it comes to doing the connecting it to DocuSign and or how to associate it for compliance? Anybody online? Again, hopefully, how many people have already gone through this process once in a transaction?
Not with DocuSign.
Okay. Let me stop a little bit too before we get going too much on a couple things. You may say, okay, Elizabeth, I don't have, if we go back to where I had selected start a transaction, guys. Remember when we had that little drop down? If DocuSign doesn't show up there, I'm going to include the sheet on how it shows you how to go and associate your DocuSign with your command. If that's not happening, let me know if you want to sign in before you leave today, and I'm happy to help walk you through how to get your DocuSign connected. The other, hey guys, do you mind just 1 second until we get the doors closed? I'm so sorry. Thank you. The other thing that might happen, guys, is when you go to DocuSign, there may not be the forms already where they're auto-populating for you. And the reason being is there's a setting in your DocuSign in which you need to associate your NRDS ID. And so I can assist you too after class today with getting that connected so that those forms automatically populate in there for you, okay? And that's gonna be whenever you click go to transaction and it's an empty room. And you're like, why isn't this working like it did for her? That would be the reason why. Okay. Exciting. So here we are again, guys, just reference back to our process flow. We are now at the submit request for commission letter, or DA, as Keller Williams likes to say. Claire, thank you for your help. You're fine. You're fine. Okay. Everybody's doing great though, right? Like so far it's like super exciting, and we're selling houses here. Okay, so we're going to continue down our tabs to the offers and commissions tab. And the offers and commissions tab, command, they try to make it super simple and kind of like a easy to follow. We've got again another button here in blue. Forever in doubt, look for the plus sign button in blue. We're going to click add offer. It's going to have a default in here of initial offer. You could put in here if we already got it accepted, we're through inspections, and again, we're doing the quick and dirty. You've got the ability to add as many offers as you want throughout the process here, but this is typically people are just doing it when it's accepted and they need that commission letter, okay? So you're gonna say maybe accepted offer. And you'll click create offer. It's going to bring you to the screen where you can put some details in there. So we're gonna select the offer date, and what you wanna use for the offer date would be your effective date of your contract, which is the last date everybody signed it. Okay, so if everybody signed the offer today, the 15th of February, and that's our effective date, we'll put that as offer date. These dates are important. Your closing date is going to be the date that it's supposed to close. Okay, so let's say that we got really lucky. We've got a 32-day close, so we're going to close on March 17th. At this point, we need to then enter the address of the property. I'm going to go back and use that address that we had pulled up in our sample MLS. So let's say that this is the one that we got accepted, 17 West 58th Street. It's going to have here where it's going to want to auto-populate a different address. Go ahead and click on that because it's the way that the system wants to see it. You do have the ability to select it from KW if you want. I always just type it in here and click on that one that prompts me for. At this point, you're going to get to click to the right with parties. My buyer's name has auto-populated here for me, my client's name. And then you can put the seller's name. Again, just for being thorough, this is our seller's name, Andrew J. Klugger. This is going to make compliance and everybody think that it's like legit. I'm glad I warned my MCA. He called and asked me a question for billing. And I was like, hey, you want to return the favor? Decline some of these for me. Okay, so that's going to be the seller's name. And it's, as you see, it's required. It's got an asterisk next to it. There's no need to put anything else in there information wise. Here is the associate's name, which is me being the buyer's agent representing the buyer, and my email address. And then on the right is going to be the name of the agent that's representing the sellers. Okay. Again, just so that we're clear, we're going to come back to our MLS sheet here, and Jeffrey Albright is the agent on this example. See if it copies all of it. Almost. Jeffrey. There we go. Now we can move on to the terms. This is where it gets fun, and then let me know if I need to slow down. Thank you again for keeping me honest with my math. So if this property is listed at $525,000, woohoo, that's a great sale. That's gonna feel good, right? So if the total sales price, let's say to leave it, keep it simple, was that we went 25,000 over asking. So the price that we got accepted was a $550,000 asking price. Okay. So how this is going to work, guys, my clients are putting down 20%. So they're putting down $110,000. And I'm going to just do the math in my calculator because it's easier to do that than be embarrassed in front of all of you. So then for the cash is the down payment. That's how much is going down. If it was all cash, awesome. We would put 550 in that field. Does that make sense? The financed amount is going to be how much the loan is going to be for. So if they're putting down 20%, the 20% is the cash, the down payment, the 440 is what the 80% the loan value. Does that make sense? So we're getting to our sale price of 550. And that's your goal in that third box, is to get to your sale price. Any questions there? Easy peasy. All right. For your earnest amount, you can do a couple different things here. You can say we'd put earnest down of 1% and it's automatically going to calculate it if you did an automatic 1% earnest deposit, right? If, for example, my clients wanted to write a real competitive offer and they said, we're going to put 10,000 down, which, as Randy would say, you always want to try to keep that as low as possible, but still, show that you're serious. If you enter amount over here, it could be that we entered that we're going to put $7,500 down for our earnest. Okay. It's going to automatically calculate the percentage on the left. Does that make sense? You've got either where you can put in a percentage or type in the earnest amount. Any questions there?
The only question is, if that earnest money is a part of the cash, right? I mean,
Yep. And good question. Yep. It's not that you're double counting it here, right? That earnest is going towards that down payment. Option fee is not something we utilize here in our market. This is, obviously like Keller Williams International technology. We also don't use the termination thing for termination option for anything. And then the next one that you would want to be aware of is seller will contribute, the second box, seller will contribute X amount to settlement cost. That's where you would be putting in if they're paying closing costs. So if for some reason we negotiated they're paying 5,000 in closing, that's where you would enter 5,000 here.
And you just always leave the termination option at 0?
Yes. Yep, just how other markets use it differently. This is how we use it here in our market. So we'll complete those. Any questions before I move on? We don't use this option fee, and then we don't use the termination option. Some people use that option fee for like if there's a home warranty. Some of them use it. Like some states would have an option fee where you are able to, I don't know what that would be. I think if you wanted to secure the property as yours and keep somebody else from buying, there's just different, because this has to be used across all different states. So in our market, we don't use option fee or termination option. Okay. So next we go to agent analysis. This is where you could put, and the purpose being is that you can enter in here your thoughts on the offer. If you were entering more than one offer, a lot of times this would be used if you're a listing agent and you wanted to put your pros and cons for each. To me, it seems like, again, we're quick and dirty. Let's just click save and move on. All right, so at this point, we've got our offer. So our offer that we just entered here. Our next step is that we need to go in and accept that offer. So again, the system is trying to prompt you to go in the right direction. A green button that says, or blue button that says accept, you're going to click that accept. And at this point, you're going to be able to see that they've auto-generated a new button for us to select here, which says Manage Commissions. You're going to click on that Manage Commissions button. And it's going to bring up this fun form here. For some reason, guys, I don't know why, it doesn't carry over the contract date. So your effective date. See how it brought over the close date? For some reason, we haven't figured out how to bring over that. It doesn't seem like that would be that hard of a thing to fix, right? Maybe it's to keep you honest. So you do have to go in again when you're doing your commissions and reselect your contract date. We'd selected it before as February 15th. So we'll select that again. And then here, guys, is where you're going to make an edit. For some reason, if this was a property in which they were only offering 2.5% commission, and either you agreed to that because of the price point and some upper price points, that's perfectly acceptable and a common practice to charge or offer only 2.5%. Or if you missed it on the MLS sheet and didn't get it corrected or whatever it might be, this is where you're going to adjust. Remember, we entered 3% initially. We would adjust it here if we needed to.
And you said you got your MLS pulled up that you were making this off
Yep.
of. What is it?
3% on this one. So then again, guys, we talked about this the other day, but that 3% here is where we're looking at what is it that they're offering on the MLS. And this was based on gross sales price. So had we had seller paid closing costs, it wouldn't have mattered. We're going to go off of the gross sales price. Okay. We can then scroll down, and this is where you've got the ability to make changes to the commission. It's going to give you an idea of where you're sitting at based on what you need to pay into Keller Williams Overland Park or Keller Williams Plaza for your company dollar, which is your company commission here, right? At a split of 30%. And then, it's got me capped. The reason is because I'm leadership, I don't have a cap that I would be paying in, is why that's showing up like that. Otherwise, you're going to show that you've got your cap of 18,000. And then you're going to show what you've paid in towards that and what your balance is. Make sense? And then you have your associate royalty to where you've got 6% that's going to come out for the royalty there. Let me show you how to make some edits here, because there are a couple that you're going to need to make as an agent. One of which, if you're on a team, or let's say that this was a referral or something that you got in from somebody from Topeka, you can keep all the units as yourself, and then you would just go in and adjust your commission if you needed to adjust your commission to reflect 75%, because you gave a 25% referral to that agent that sent you the referral. Does that make sense? That's one way you can do it, is manually calculate out. Are we following? Is it okay if I go through and I'll just say, if you're just doing a quick and dirty, you made this sale yourself, you don't know anybody any money. Shall we just take a second and do that? Okay, thank you. My apologies, guys. So if this is your sale, no one else is involved, you're not on a team, you're going to come in here and you're going to have your one unit and then the 16,000 gross commission. Down here, you don't need to add any of this. If you would like to put money towards a BOLD scholarship or KW Cares and make a donation on this transaction, you could at that point say, I want to give $10 to KW Cares, and it would automatically add on your DA, your commission request, that you're going to part of $10 out of your transaction is going to go to KW Cares. The next thing is you're going to say extra payment options. Here, you're going to want to click add item. And then you've got the ability to select bonus, concessions, or deduction. We are going to select bonus, and this is where we're going to put that flat fee that we charge to the seller or to the buyer in this case to cover that $395. So you're going to say bonus as the type of item that you're adding, and then you're going to say $395 and click add. At this point, then you can hit save changes.
Now, you also need to go back in there and do a deduction now and do the 395 to whomever.
Yeah, and the MCAs will be the ones that will be able to take care of. They handle that on their end.
Oh, so we don't have to do that at all?
Correct. And I'll let you know if that changes. But yes, I will let you know if that changes. But
Okay.
to my
The other program I was in, I had to go with the code with me.
okay, so that would be where you would do a deduction here and add. I think that we've had some changes. Okay, and put that there. I think, why don't you go ahead, I can clarify So thank you for bringing that up. But for the time being, with this being different, where we're no longer paying, before you were paying in addition to your company dollar. Now that's coming out of your company dollar minus this $395 fee. And being in the program, you'll be flagged to already have that deduction coming out, like that coming out. Does that make sense? But I'll clarify and circle back with you if need be. The other thing that you might do here, guys, is if you had and this is where I want to make it very clear, this has changed recently. If you have a transaction coordinator that you're utilizing, which in the beginning, guys, if you're new in the business, I really, really recommend that you do the paperwork yourself, because it's important that you understand what's going on with that paperwork. But as long as they were a licensed real estate agent and they were a transaction coordinator, you could add them as a deduction here. And you could say, oh, my transaction coordinator charges me $250. And then you could say TC, and then you could put the licensed transaction coordinator here. Does that make sense? As their name of who to pay.
But would you only do that if Keller Williams is paying it for you?
Correct, but in the past, people would do their deductions on here. They would pay their admins on here that weren't licensed, and that's where it's changed. We're no longer doing that. So, and for the time being, that's something that you probably won't be doing. So if it's not, like, some people just choose to get paid and then do the deduction, and then pay outside of, after they get paid, pay their transaction coordinator separately. We used to do it for a lot of agents where the market center would pay that transaction coordinator. And sometimes if they weren't licensed, we were getting ourselves into a pickle, and Randy said no more. So more than likely, we're gonna just add that bonus and then hit save changes. At that point, you need to hit this. You've got a summary of what's going on over here. So it's showing that bonus. It's showing the $10 nonprofit deduction for KW Cares. And then you're going to see what it should be paid out to you. So you've got a good point, Krista, that they may want us to do that deduction, and I'll update you on that. But we're going to click submit, and it goes off to the MCA to create the DA for you.
And mine does still show that I'm in this MC 139 productivity team.
Okay.
So I thought that might go away, and I don't have anything like second, but eventually, do I need to be doing my transactions in that team or the team?
That's a great question. I purposely brought this today so I could take down these questions. You guys, she is winning today. Like, those are the great questions. Does anyone else want to compete or no?
You are funny. I know that you keep saying that you're funny.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are funny.
Right? Okay. Under team. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? When they go in then and create it for you, again, you're going to go find it. As long as you did it correctly, you're going to go find it under documents, and then under the close section, and they will upload it here for you to download and send to the title company. And that's something I would highly recommend that you do in a timely fashion, because otherwise you start getting messages from the seller's title company. Where's your commission letter? From your title company, where's your commission letter? The other agent, where's your commission letter? And if you can be timely in getting it, it saves you responding to those 3 messages, or those 3 message emails plus 3 phone calls, and all of a sudden you're getting people like hollering at you for a commission letter. The other reason it's good to get that in ahead of time is if for some reason your commission letter looks different than the other side's, the co-op's commission letter, you've got time to address that. Or maybe they're like, oh, I thought I had put it in as net, and we put that $10,000 roof on there. And you can go back and say, no, 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 no. Look right here, it says gross, kind of a thing. Okay. All right, any questions there? Look, we're all the way out to the back of our end of our transaction, or end of our process flow. So you're going to send a copy of it to the title company, and you're going to get to go do your walkthrough and go to closing. Similar kind of situation, guys, with the list side of things. When you're on the listing, it's going to be a very, very similar kind of process. The only difference being is when you get to where you're working that offer. You guys want me to whip through maybe doing one more real quick so I can show you? Okay, we're going to come back here to contacts. We're going to add a contact. This time I'm going to represent a Max Look at this Oldham. There we go. And I'll set up his email address. I'm in a hurry because I'm a very busy person. So name, email, scroll to the bottom here, click create. It would be to your benefit to put tags on there, and yet we're new and we're just gonna make sure that we do quick and dirty, get paid, move on. Okay, as you can see, it's not showing up, so just refresh. Here's Max, we'll pull him up. We're gonna go under opportunity again on the right. Come on. Oh, it's already refreshed. Gonna click opportunity. And then here again, we're gonna select what market center we're in. And then the opportunity type is a listing. Down here, I would highly recommend in your listing, you're gonna wanna put what the address is. This is gonna help you with finding it later. We're gonna put our commission rate as 3%. And again, I'm just leaving these the same because right now I'm just trying to move forward and keep going. At this point, it's going to generate that opportunity for us for the listing. We'll click on the opportunity. It's going to open up the transaction or the opportunity. And here we're going to go to documents. Again, we want to pick our checklist type first. So we're going to select here on the left, checklist, residential listing. It's going to populate our checklist here of what's going to be required for compliance. It's also, by doing that, going to tell DocuSign, give her the listing documents. So over here, I'm going to use the, if you only have DocuSign, this may not give you a drop-down list. And with all of you guys, you probably shouldn't have .loop at all, and just don't do it. Just don't do it. Because it's old and dated and we're not going to use it anymore. You know what I mean? And like, I would just, and it's not supported anymore. There's not going to be, again, so you just hit start transaction. They're not updating the forms in there. They're not updating like if there's an issue, kind of a thing. All right, and you see how it automatically went and updated or opened up DocuSign for me. So here are all my seller documents for getting ready to list the property that I need to complete. Again, we talked about what would be different here is under contract. We might add that there be another version if we were to get like a backup offer, but typically we're going to know whenever we've got an accepted contract. So again, when we're ready, any questions there, that would be the only difference, that we're going to use this under contract and add another version if for some reason this first one fell through. You go back to, I'm going to keep me honest here, okay? So we created our opportunity. We're going to complete our marketing and commands. Again, that's where if you want to use designs to do your marketing, I've flowed all the way down here. Then you're going to not be in command again until after you get DocuSign agreements and everything signed by your clients, because you receive an offer. At that point, you're going to go just sign directly into DocuSign on your dashboard, and you're going to pull up Max's listing. And we're going to talk about DocuSign another day. So everybody like note that there's tips and tricks on how to use DocuSign. You can go through command every single time. If that makes you feel good, go that way. If you want to just save DocuSign as one of you, see how I have all these things saved across the top. Like if you want to save a bookmark for yourself to just sign into DocuSign, you can, and then here you were able to add your documents that way. You also have the ability to email them in. There's all kinds of fanciness you can do, because the chances of another agent sending you an offer via .loop is real. And so you'll want to copy that over. You can get your signatures if you want in .loop from your clients, but then you need to copy it over into DocuSign to be able to do your alignment that way. We'll do it on the DocuSign day. The other thing I say would be an option too, if you do want to, and on your listing, you did get it in .loop from the other agent and you like .loop. I mean, I used it for 12 years. I liked it as well, except for their policies and how they conduct business. But the other option is anytime that you guys want to come in here and associate your files, you do have the ability to associate those files from directly, I guess what I'm trying to say, Elizabeth, come on, use your You do have the ability to do it just directly from your computer, and I'm not understanding why it's not offering me to do that right now. So you can upload the document from, guys, wow, this is embarrassing, directly from your computer and do it that way if you would like. Oh, I see. Haha. It's not that smart. So if you want to do it in .loop, download them to your computer and save it for your own record, which I would recommend. Then you would just say attach files from my computer, and that allows you to just browse your computer and upload them directly from here. Does that make sense? So that would be one way to do it there. So you don't have to copy it over to DocuSign if you did get all of the sign stuff in .loop. Okay. Do we want, are you guys, so let's continue on down the path as if we accepted this. So we've dealt with our documents, we're gonna do our compliance, but the difference being an offer on a listing is that there's a few more things that are required that you put in as far as what Josh is gonna want you to see or what Nick is gonna want you to see here. So Josh, your MCA, and Nick is the MCA on the plaza. That's gonna be creating your DA or your commission letter. So accepted offer, again, we accepted it on the 15th. We're gonna have a closing date. Yay, March closing. St. Patty's Day, no less. Like that's gonna be a fun day, right? We'll go to parties. This time it's gonna automatically populate my client's information, which is the seller. And so I need to go over here and populate who the buyer is. I also need to populate who the agent is that the buyer is working with. Well, let's not do an agent here. Let's call her Holly Jones. And then we'll click terms. Here again, we're going to end up putting down what was the amount. So the total down payment is $12,000. So putting, and then what did I do? I did this before. I'm smart. I don't need to use, I'm gonna use the calculator because I'm smart. No, that's not what I intended to do. It's okay. Let's say that they're putting down and it's 108. So $120,000 purchase price, sales price. The earnest amount, they gave us $1,200 in earnest to make it easy. Seller's not paying any closing costs. Actually, let me put it here. Let's just say that this one I struggled with getting sold. So we gave them $3,000 in closing cost, okay? And that's where you would put that. We're gonna click agent analysis. Again, I don't, pros and cons, not necessary. Let's just keep moving. We're gonna go ahead and say we accepted this offer. So I'm gonna click on that green accept button. And it's gonna then make it to where I can get to the commissions page to request my D8, my commission letter. Once again, doesn't carry over contract date. So we're going to add contract date, February 15th. Click save changes. And then down here where you need to make any changes, we're gonna again go in and edit agent payment so that we can scroll to the bottom and say add item, bonus, the $395. Click add, save. And then I need you to scroll back up to the top here and click add. I'm sorry. I will check with, I know that on the plaza, our market center administrator, Nick Kruger, wants you to add under add note. Co-broker is Holly Jones with Keller Williams Platinum Partners, which is in Lee Summit. We are supposed to pay her, let's see what it is that we're paying ourselves. It's gonna be the same, $3,600. And the reason being is that the seller again pays a commission for both the listing agent and the buyer's agent. So our commission letter needs to reflect that we're paying her $3,600 as the buyer's agent, which is a 3% commission, okay? We'll click Save Changes, and that note will just make it to where they know to put it on the DA that they're supposed to also charge us $3,600 for Holly. And then you can hit your submit button here. Any questions there on how that's different? Are you excited now? Like no longer freaked out if you sell a house and you need to figure out how to get paid? A little? Yes. No, it'll be, yes. That will be not a problem. Okay, any other questions when it comes to kind of how we get from a contact to closing? That point, if you can get through, you get through your compliance, you get through your DA, then this is considered done. You don't need to do anything more. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Good to see you, Connor, Craig, and Jay.
Thanks, Elizabeth. See you later.
Bye. Okay.